Hello friends, today I would like to talk about some special operators in C Sharp. These operators are very important in terms of making our code concise and more readable. Many of us must have encountered some of this at one time or another while coding. I am going to focus on 6 very important C Sharp operators. First of all, I will talk about the question mark operator, which is known as the nullable value type. What it is, how to use it in a program, and its associated benefits and limitations. Second, we will look at the double question mark operator, which is known as the null-coalescing operator. Next, we will see a double question mark equal sign operator, which is null-coalescing assignment operator. What it is and how it helps us to solve some sort of problem. Fourth, I will explain about the question mark dot operator, how it handles the null value and help us access to member variables. Fifth, we will talk about the question mark colon operator, which is called either the conditional operator or ternary conditional operator. Finally, I will tell you about the double colon sign, namespace, alias, qualifier, right? So what it is, what problem it solves, and how it can be used in a program. So let's dive into it one by one. Question mark operator. It is also known as nullable value types in C Sharp. C Sharp compiler does not allow value type variable to store null value. In some situation, there is a need to store null value as well by value type variable. So C Sharp creator understood this need. So they came up with nullable value type concept in C Sharp 2.0. So nullable value types allows us to assign a null value to a value type variable. It is available in the system namespace. If you see the syntax over here, value type question mark I is equal to null. This is one way of writing. The another way is nullable and angular bracket value type, then closing angular bracket I is equal to null. If you see the example at right hand side over here, so we are going to write int question mark I is equal to null, double question mark D is equal to null, and so on. It is a simplified way of writing this nullable value type. And if you are going to see right hand side, extreme right, nullable int I is equal to null, nullable double D is equal to null, and so on. So this way of writing, it is basically now obsolete. If you write these things, then C Sharp compiler will suggest like just go and write with the simplified way with the question mark operator. Okay. How to access value of nullable value types? There are multiple ways for accessing value of nullable value types. The first way is using is operator. As you know, the is operator checks whether the result of an expression is compatible with a given type or not. Right? It is also used for boxing and unboxing conversion. With the help of is operator, we would be able to fetch the value from the nullable value type. Yeah, that is the first way. Second way is using read-only properties of nullable value type. There are two properties, has value and value. Has value, what does it is? It verifies whether nullable value type has a value of its underlying type or not. It returns true if it has none null value. Otherwise, it returns false. Okay, so value property, what it does is it gets the value if it is not null. Otherwise, it throws invalid operation exception. So better we use value property conjunction with has value property check in order to avoid invalid operation exception error, right? Okay, so third way is using get value or default method of the nullable value types. So the default value for null will be 0 if you are going to use this method, get value or default, right? The fourth way is using null-coalescing operator, right? Okay, so quickly see all these things in action at Visual Studio. Okay, so here we are on Visual Studio. Here we are going to see the demo of the nullable value type, which is nothing but the question mark operator, right? So I have created one console application, C# operators demo. It has file program.cs, and currently we are in program.cs file. So there is a class named program. It has method me, which is an entry point for this particular program, right? So we have written console.writeLine demo nullable value type question mark. We wanted to print it into the console window. That's what we have written this particular line. Coming to example number 1, here I have written int question mark I is equal to 5. So basically we have declared I variable as a nullable value type so that it can have any integer value or the null value. Okay, so second statement, if I is int a, so is operator is verifying whether this variable I is able to get converted to the int data type or not. If it is able to convert it, then it is just going to take this I variable value and assign into the a variable, right? So if this if statement gets executed and it returns the true value, then this statement will get executed. We are going to fetch value from the a variable. That's what we have written. I is bracket a, right? So that we will be able to fetch the value. And again, if it is false, then else part will get executed. Okay. So now I'm just going to execute this program to see the output. Okay. So here is the output. I is 5, right? So we were able to successfully fetch the value from the nullable value type and able to print it into the console window. Right? Okay. Now move to the another example. Okay, now let's see second example. Here we have declared nullable type int I and assigned the null value, right? And in next statement, we are trying to access the I value using this value property, I dot value. But I is having null value and that's why it throws invalid operation exception. Okay, so now let's run this program and witness it. Okay, so if you see this invalid operation exception is thrown and it got appeared, right? So how to avoid this exception? We will see quickly in another program. Okay, so here we are going to see the example number 3. This example number 3 we have written because I just want to show you how to avoid this invalid operation exception error. Okay, so last example we were getting this invalid operation exception error because we were trying to access this null value using this value property. So here as a precaution, we are just going to verify using the hash value property whether this I variable is having any value or not. If it is having value, then only we are going to use this value property. Otherwise, we are not going to use it. In that way, by that way, we are going to avoid this invalid operation. Right here, if you see the value I is having the null value, so I dot hash value will give the false. Then else part will get executed. So we are not going to access anyway this value property, right? So by that way, we are going to avoid that error. Okay, let's see it by executing this program. Let me click this start button. Okay, so here if you see the output got appear into this console window, right? So it clearly depict I does not have a value, that is having null value, right? So that's why this value property it was not get executed. That's why we are able to avoid this invalid operation exception. So it's better to use value property in conjunction with this hash value check so that we can avoid this invalid operation exception easily, right? Okay, so let's switch on to the different program. We are going to see example number 4. In this example, we will be seeing how to access value from nullable value type using get value or default method, right? So if you see here, I have defined nullable value type I is equal to 5, right? And I'm going to get this value using this get value or default method because this 5 is not a null value, right? It's a null value. That's why it is taking same value and getting printed right onto the console window using this console.writeLine statement. And another variable j is having the null value, right? And when we are going to access using this get value or default method, it just prints 0. So null value will get converted when we are going to fetch using this get value or default as a 0, and that's what it gets printed into the console window. Okay, so let's execute this program and see the output. Okay, if you see the output appeared into this console window, I is 5 and j is 0, because j is having a null value. That's what it, when we are going to fetch using this get value or default method, it got converted null value as a 0, and that's what it got printed over here. Okay. Benefits and limitation of nullable value type. We have seen what is nullable value type, how to access its values. Now we are going to see benefits and limitations associated with it, right? So benefit, to store null value in a value type variable, that was not possible. Previously, C# compiler was not allowing us to store null value to the value type variable. But with the help of nullable value type, we are able to do so. Second benefit is nullable value type is a value type, and thus it's a fairly lightweight, right? In database application, it allows us to store null value in a value type variable directly. So what happens whenever we are going to fetch data from the database, we are not sure whether the data is getting returned as a null value or some specific value, right? But with the help of nullable value type, we are carefree and we are in better position. Whatever the value it is going to come from the database, we are able to store it without having any exception, right? So that's what this nullable value type gives us, the flexibility. So yeah, we can count as a benefit, right? Limitation, it can't be used comparison operators except double equal and not equal to comparison operator. Second limitation is nested nullable value types are not allowed. If we are trying to do so, it will give compile error. The third limitation is nullable value type is only applicable for explicitly typed variable like int, boolean, double, and so on, and not for the implicitly typed variable like var, right? So these are the limitation and benefits associated with the nullable value type. Now switch on the next topic. Double question mark operator, which is nothing but null-coalescing operator. So we will see what is null-coalescing operator and where we can use this operator in C#. As per MSDN, the null-coalescing operator returns the value of its left-hand operand if it is not null. Otherwise, it evaluates the right-hand operand and returns its result. This operator does not evaluate the right-hand operand if the left-hand operand evaluates to non-null value, right? Okay, let's understand this with the help of example. If you see the example over here, int question mark I is equal to 5. Here, I nullable int variable is having the value of 5, right? And when we are going to write int j is equal to I double question mark 0, what does it mean is, here it will verify whether I is having null value or not. If it is not null, it will assign the I value to j. If it is null value, then it will assign to 0. Okay. So in first example where we have this I is equal to 5, right? So it's null value. That's what it is. It is going to get assigned to j variable, right? And that's what it got printed. Output j is 5 with the help of this console.writeLine statement, right? Okay. If you see here a variable is having the null value, and when we are going to verify using this null-coalescing operator, right, it found that a is the null value, so it assigned 0 to b variable, and that's what it got printed. Output b is 0, right? Okay, so this operator can also be used multiple times in the same expression. If you see here, int d is equal to a double question mark b double question mark c. What does it mean? It will verify whether a is having null value or not. If it is having null value, then it will go and verify b variable, right? If b is also null value, then it will go and verify the c value, right? And at the end, it is going to store this value as a d, right? So yeah, that's the way we are going to use this operator multiple times in the same expression. It is also called as a nested operator, nested null-coalescing operator, right? What are the benefits we are going to get it using the null-coalescing operator? The first benefit is it replaces if-else statement and gives concise way of writing the code, right? Second benefit would be it can also be used multiple times in the same expression, so it makes our code more readable. It can be used with value types as well as reference type, right? Okay. Double question mark equal to sign operator, which is also called null-coalescing assignment operator in C#. So what is null-coalescing assignment operator? So null-coalescing assignment operator assigns the value of its right-hand operand to its left-hand operand only if the left-hand operand evaluates to null. This operator does not evaluate its right-hand operand if the left-hand operand evaluates to null value. What does it mean? Let's understand with the help of example. If you see example number 1, int question mark a is equal to null, int b is equal to 10, where this a variable is having the null value and b is having 10 value, right? And the third statement, if you see a question mark double question mark equal b, what does it mean? Here if you see a is the left hand side operand, right? And b is the right hand side operand. So this null coalescing operator will verify whether this a is having null value or not. If it is a null, then it is going to assign this b value to a variable, right? If it is not null, then it is just going to assign a value to a only. And it is also equivalent to a is equal to a double question b, right? So this is a more concise way of writing with the help of null coalescing assignment operator, right? So this null coalescing assignment operator can also be used multiple times in the same expression. If you see example number 4, we are just writing int d is equal to a double question mark equal b double question mark equal to c. So in this fashion, we can use nested null coalescing assignment operator, right? Okay, so example number 2, if you see int question mark I is equal to null, I double question mark equal get added result. If you see, this is the get added result that accepts two input int a int b and returns the output the addition of these two numbers, right? So this method is going to get called, and whatever the value it is receiving, it is just going to assign to the I variable, and then we are just going to print this with the help of console.write line, right? So the output would be, it will be adding 5 and 6, right? So 11. So console.write line I will be printing as a 11 as an output, right? Because I is a null value, and that's what this method is going to get, executed. Okay. So this is the example number 2. Example number 3, as we said, like null coalescing assignment operator works well with the reference type as well, right? So this string is a reference type where we are having str1 is equal to null, str2 is equal to Ravi, right? So str1, so this null coalescing assignment operator will verify str1 is null or not. If it is a null, then it is just going to use str2 value and got printed over here. So if you see the output, str1 is Ravi, right? So yeah, it works well. This operator works well with value type as well as reference type as well, right? I mean value type in the sense nullable value type, right? So benefits, if you see, it makes our code concise and more readable, right? So that's way we use null coalescing assignment operator. Okay, let's move to the next operator. Question mark dot operator is nothing but null conditional operator in C#. So this operator was introduced in C# 6.0. What is this operator does is, this operator quickly returns null if the expression on its left hand side evaluates to null value. If its left hand side evaluates to a non-null value, it gets treated like member access operator. Okay, so let's understand with the help of example. Let's consider there are two classes, employee and department. Here employee is having three attributes, imp name, age and department. Department is having one attribute, department name. Here if you see in employee class, department being a class served as an attribute over here. Okay, so if you want to fetch the department name with the instance of employee, how we can do that? So first we need to verify. Okay, let's see the old way how we are going to do that. Okay, so here we are just verifying e not equal to null. If employee instance is not equal to null, then go proceed and verify again whether department e dot department is not equal to null. Then just go and get the value e dot department name. Okay, so that way we are fetching this department name value by making sure that we are not going to get this null exception error, right? Null reference exception error. Okay, so the same thing we can do with the help of null conditional operator. If you see where department name is equal to e question mark dot department question mark dot department name, right? So this is the very concise way of writing the same thing what we have written in the old way, right? So that is the benefit. So if you see, if you consider this benefit, it reduces our code size, right? Because if you see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 lines of code we have written, and in the new way using this null conditional operator, in one line we are able to get it the same result what we have written in the old way. Okay, so that's the benefit, and it is more readable because in one line statement we understood what we wanted to achieve, it how we are going to achieve those things, right? So yeah, that's the benefit of null conditional operator. It's a very powerful operator. Question mark colon operator, which is nothing but the conditional operator or ternary conditional operator. Basically, it is a short form of the if-else conditions. If you see the syntax, condition, question mark, first expression, colon, second expression. What does it mean is, if condition returns the true value, then first expression will get evaluated. Otherwise, the second expression will get executed, right? So if you see the example, the old way, how we are going to write with the help of if else, if int variable a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10, and a string str is equal to a string empty, and if you are checking a is greater than b, here a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10. Okay, so here we are checking a is greater than 5, and if condition returns true value, then this str result a is bigger than b will get printed. Otherwise, b is bigger than a will print it. But if you see the example over here, a value is 5 and b is equal to 10, right? So a is less than 10, right? So else statement will get executed. So b is bigger than a will be printed into this console window if we are going to write using this console.write line, right? Okay, so same thing, how we are going to write with the help of ternary conditional operator, right? Int a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10, right? A string str is equal to a string dot empty. Here, what we are going to write, we are just going to give the condition first, a greater than b, then question mark, then the first expression. First expression is nothing but here a statement, a is bigger than b, right? Then question mark, not question mark, colon, b is bigger than a. Okay, so if this condition returns the true value, then a is bigger than b will be printed. Otherwise, b is bigger than a will be printed. But if you see the example, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10, of course b is bigger than a will get printed. Okay, so if you see in one line we have achieved what we have written here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, in 8 line in old way, in one line in one line in a new way, right? So yeah, so it reduces our code size. Okay, this ternary conditional operator can also be used multiple times in the same expression. So for example, if you write f is equal to a question mark b colon c question mark d colon e, it will be executed as a question mark b colon, and then the rest statement will get executed like c question mark d colon e, right? In this fashion. So what are the benefits? Of course, there are two benefits. It reduces our code size. It makes our code more readable, right? Double colon, which is nothing but namespace alias qualifier in C#. It basically helps us to access the members of an alias namespace and to avoid ambiguous definitions of the classes. It is written with two columns with the class name and an alias. If you see the syntax, alias name, double colon, class name. Okay, so this is the way how we are going to write namespace alias qualifier, right? Okay, so if you see the example, let's suppose we have two namespaces, namespace A, namespace B, and it is having same class name employee and same attribute name employee name, right? And if you are going to use these two namespaces in one of the class, then there will be conflict because this employee class, right, it is present in both the namespaces. So how we are going to distinguish this? So that's where this namespace alias qualifier comes into the picture. If you see here, we are just going to give the name namespace A. We have given the short name imp A, that is nothing but the alias, right? And the namespace B, we have given imp B, right? Now if you are if you are going to use this class program, where in main method, if you want to access this imply class of namespace A, we just need to write imp A double colon imply. So we will be able to get actual imply class of that particular namespace, right? So that's the way the namespace alias qualifier is being used, right? So what are the benefits we are going to get it? So first benefit is it helps us to access member of an alias namespace, right? The second benefit we can count on, it helps us to avoid ambiguous definitions of the classes. If you see here, and this is the ambiguous class name because imply and imply, this class is present in both the namespaces, right? So namespace alias qualifier help us to distinguish, right, which one we need to consider and how we are going to access those things. So yeah, it basically help us to avoid ambiguous definitions of the classes. It makes our code more readable, and it help us to use the alias name instead of a bigger namespace, right? Okay, so that brings me to end of my session. To sum up, we saw first in this session what is nullable value types and how to access its value. Then we looked at null-coalescing operator, what it is and how we can use it in a program. Then we saw null-coalescing assignment operator and ternary conditional operator. And finally, we talked about namespace alias qualifier. So if you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends and colleagues, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. Thanks for watching. See you next video.